Hi, welcome back to the Indescribable God and to another episode on Understanding the Great I Am. Today, I wanted to share a revelation that I got on the birth of Jesus. Very often, we believe, and we think that Jesus was born in poverty and he was very poor because he was born in the manger and because the Bible says he was wrapped in swaddling clothes. But that is not true. You see, these are the reasons that I realized as I read. The first thing is that Joseph, his father, was a carpenter, and carpentry is not cheap. It's not cheap today, and it wasn't cheap even in the time of Mother Mary and Saint Joseph. So, Joseph, being a carpenter, was already very well established, and he was doing quite well to be able to afford good, facilities for the birth of Jesus. So, why then would Jesus be born in a manger? The reason is because if you read Luke chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "It came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered." Okay, so there was a census taken of the world during the time of Jesus' birth, and Caesar Augustus was the emperor at that time, and he insisted that the whole world should register because he wanted to know how many people were there across the world. So, because of that, in verse 4, it says, "Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house of the lineage of David." So, Joseph, when he was established, his business, his home, his career, everything was established in Nazareth. But because he was from the lineage of David, he had to go to this to Bethlehem to register himself and register his family. And that is why Joseph and Mary actually moved out at such a critical time, which is during the time of the birth of Jesus. That's not an ideal time that normally people would move out. No person would move out at the time when my wife is going to deliver. But because of the census, they had no choice and they moved in that direction. Now, when they came to Bethlehem, because of the census, they were not the only ones who came to Bethlehem to get registered. There were many others, and because of that, all the inns in Bethlehem were full, and there was no rooms available anywhere in Bethlehem, which is why when Mother Mary had to deliver, she must have been already in labor by the time they reached Bethlehem. And because of that, seeing that desperation of hers, one of the innkeepers must have said that, see, the only place I have is the manger. If you want, you can, at least have your delivery in the manger. So they were forced to deliver Jesus in the manger because the rooms were not available. But Joseph was very, very financially secure enough to pay for a room if it was available. Okay, coming to the point about swaddling clothes. If you see the definition for swaddling clothes, the swaddling clothes simply means pieces of cloth that are used to wrap a baby or wrap a wound or something like that. It's basically a piece of cloth. In India, we usually, when a child is born, we make these big white pieces of cloth and we get them nicely stitched and softened and all that and kept ready for the baby. What is the purpose of that cloth? It is to tie the baby in that cloth so the baby remains warm, to wrap the baby up and tie the baby snug so the baby remains warm. And that is what Mother Mary also wrapped Jesus in. Something of the same type. It's basically a cloth piece that a child is wrapped up in so the child will remain warm. You see, one thing we need to realize is if you knew that you were going to have a baby, you will not wait for your baby to be born to then go and cut out the cloth and stitch the cloths and all to wrap your baby in. You will do it well in advance. All parents, especially if it's their first child, they will start in the third month onwards. They will start, planning what kind of a bed to make and what kind of clothes to put for the child and where should we, place the child in the room and what kind of toys and all. Everything we prepare well in advance. I'm sure Mother Mary and Saint Joseph did not wait till last minute. They also prepared well in advance, and the swaddling clothes is the cloth pieces that Mother Mary and Saint Joseph had already prepared to wrap Jesus in when he was born. And this was a revelation that came to me, and I just wanted to share it with you all because so often we are under the misunderstanding that Jesus was born poor. He wasn't born poor. He never was poor. So I hope you all have, gained something from this revelation, and I hope it has blessed you. Stay blessed.